Hello, wrestling fans. This is Sal Lasardo reporting in from Orlando, Florida. The Elimination Chamber is in the books. 2.5 hours later, it is officially over, and I'm here to bring you the recap of what I thought of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Please be advised, these are my opinions only. My final take of what I thought of the show. They're not affiliated with Bill Apter or the WWE. There were a few surprises, pleasant surprises, and not so few surprises in this show. So let's get right to it, and let's start off with what was expected. The SmackDown Chamber was to start off, which was to be expected because the winner was going to face Roman Reigns later on in the evening. So this was not a surprise. Daniel Bryan and Cesaro started off in this match. The show started at 7. The bell rang at 7:16, approximately Eastern Standard Time. So basically, this started out with Bryan and Cesaro just going out really strong and really putting up a fight. They both went back and forth and countering. It was a solid 5 minutes by both of these guys. It truly was. Then Corbin came in, and then Corbin dominated for a while, and he took over for the next 5 minutes of the match. And that was when you started to think, well, maybe Corbin's going to make a little bit of a run on this. Corbin dominating, doing his thing, and Corbin close falls on Bryan. He was viciously attacking. They were just really going at it. Sami Zayn came in 5 minutes later, and then the brutal assault by Cesaro on Sami was then the next involved in this. So those two ended up trading some blows. But as this was transpiring on this, Corbin got eliminated by Cesaro at 7:34. So it was roughly about 18 minutes in. Corbin, surprisingly, after dominating his seer when he came in, he got eliminated first. Owens came in, he went after Sami, then he went after Bryan. The pace started to pick up, started to see more involvement in this. JUSO was obviously last in the pod, and they were determined to go after each other. KO. Kevin Owens is Kevin Owens. He's KOing everybody and doing his thing. The pace really picked up. Sami Zayn was eliminated by Kevin Owens, and then Kevin Owens got eliminated by JUSO after multiple super kicks in the exchange as JUSO just basically let it unfold. And at that point, then JUSO, he ended up hitting Cesaro after a long battle. It was down to Jay and Daniel and Cesaro. I was kind of surprised that, especially with Daniel Cesaro starting it, that maybe it would have been Daniel and Cesaro finishing it. But then maybe you kind of had the tweak here. Well, maybe Jay is actually going to be the one that wins this and maybe just roll over for Roman. That could have been something too. But Jay and Cesaro, after a long battle, they went back and forth for a little bit. But when it was over with, Daniel got Cesaro, got JUSO. 35 minutes later, in an incredible effort by Daniel. I mean, what could you say? I mean, Daniel Bryan's been in these kind of matches and Royal Rumbles, and from start to finish, I mean, he just gave it 1,000%. And he ended up getting Jay, and that was pretty much what all it was there. In memory of Jay Shannon would rate the scores out of 100. I gave this match a 95 out of 100. I really think you should go back and watch it. It opened the show. It was absolutely fabulous to open the show, especially with Daniel Bryan involved in it. There was a lot of high spots and a lot of good things. The pace picked up, and it looked great. Daniel Bryan just exhausted, and after 35 minutes, I mean, this was just nonstop. Daniel Bryan was going to have nothing left to face Roman Reigns right later in the evening. Aren't we wrong? When the cage lifted, Roman Reigns came out. And Roman Reigns came in, and the match was on already. Why have, after Daniel Bryan winning this match, why not give him a break? Let him wrestle later in the evening. You could have put the women on next, the triple threat. Give Daniel a breather. You have a former champion, future Hall of Famer, that's given his heart and soul to the company. Roman's coming out after Daniel's been through a war for 35 minutes. You know this match is over quickly. It was over in a couple of moments. It was over. It was a squash. It was a total squash and a total disrespect to Daniel. And that really upset me, that it had to happen so fast. At least let Daniel recover and let them have a match, since they're not going to have one at WrestleMania. Let them have a true match. No, you let Roman come out. You know Daniel has nothing left, and Daniel gets beat easily in a matter of a couple moments. It was over. And then, on my preview, if you saw my preview, what was expected to happen once Roman beat the winner of this? Edge came out, speared Roman Reigns, pointed Edge versus Roman at WrestleMania. We got that. But total disappointment after the Chamber. Daniel has nothing left. And you are now going to let immediately Roman face Daniel and basically make it a squash match. I gave the match a 10 out of 100. The only reason why I gave this segment a 10 was because Ed speared Roman Reigns. That was it. There was nothing. It was nothing. It wasn't even a match. It was over. It was over before it even began. And totally disappointed. Totally, totally disappointed. Except for the fact that Ed speared Roman. You knew that it was coming. So that's the reason why I gave it a 10 out of 100. Lashley, Riddle, and Johnny Morrison. Johnny Morrison replaced Keith Lee. Johnny Morrison won a pre-show match over Retribution's Mustafa Ali to be in the triple threat match. Early on, it looked like Bobby Lashley was going to retain this title. He came out strong, fast, power, doing everything. Then Morrison and Riddle got Lashley out of it for a little bit, and they went back and forth. And then the Crutch got involved in the match. And what ended up happening when it was all said and done was, in a surprise finish, Matt Riddle pulled off a monster upset. He pinned Morrison to become the new champion. Bobby Lashley wasn't pinned. It was Riddle who pinned Morrison to become the new champion. And this was a surprise. This was a surprise. A lot of surprises. I told Bill after on Twitter after the match was over, I said, well, maybe Bobby Lashley needs maybe to go after the world title now, because that's the only logical sense that would make, that he would lose a match like this. We're going to find out more about that before the night's over. But Matt Riddle, he pulled off the upset. I did not expect it. Bobby Lashley pretty much dominated this thing. The Crutch came into play. They used it on Lashley. And then it came down to Riddle pulling out the move and pulling off the upset and pinning Johnny Morrison. I didn't think Johnny Morrison was going to win, but Matt Riddle pulled off a shocker. He did. And I gave the match a 60 out of 100 because of the surprise factor of the fact that Bobby Lashley lost to Matt Riddle, but it wasn't really a great match per se. I just thought the finish was. It was all Bobby Lashley early, and then it turned a little bit to get it to where it would be Riddle winning, but it wasn't really a great match per se. But the surprise factor of Riddle winning, yeah, I'd give that a 60 out of 100, and some power by Lashley, but it really wasn't much. Morrison did a little bit, but it seemed like Morrison was more filler than anything else. So we'll see where Matt Riddle goes with this. We will see what Matt Riddle's going to do, and we'll see how the WWE has plans going forward for him. So congratulations to Matt Riddle. We'll see what he can do with the title, and a shocker. In fact, the match only lasted 10 minutes. So that's why I said it really wasn't much of a match. 10 minutes, and it was over. And it was just power, and like I said, just a lot of power by Lashley. But when it was over with, that was, it became down to Morrison and Riddle after the Crutch was used on Lashley, and Lashley just was out, and that was it. The women's match was up next before the women's tag team championship. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. On my preview, I predicted Sasha Banks would take the fall, and we would probably see a little bit of a surprise. Well, I was utterly disappointed in this. I expected this to be a lot better than what it was. I really did. And I think anybody saw this, I was totally disappointed. Totally. Yes, Sasha took the fall. Sasha took the fall. You made the champion, the SmackDown Women's Champion, look like a rag doll in this, and you want to maybe see if Bianca was going to be the one that does the deed and basically would declare. That didn't happen. Sasha and Bianca worked well together, but it was mostly Sasha in the ring. Quick tags by the champs, back and forth. Nia and Shayna. Shayna would take a few more bumps, but it was in the end. It was Sasha getting pinned, but I did not see the turn on Bianca on Sasha because that's what I thought would happen. There was no chemistry, no fluidness, missed spots. It was just a train wreck of a match. And I was hoping the finish would have had Bianca turn. It did not. It did not. So you made your SmackDown Women's Champion look really bad, I thought. And obviously Nia and Shayna were not going to lose, but it made no sense. Why this match even happened? There was nothing. I know for 2.5 hours you got to have filler. You got to have something. Well, if you were going to throw a match like this in, then maybe Osaka should have defended her women's title on it, because maybe at least that could have gone a little bit better. But it didn't. It wasn't to be. I gave it a score 20 out of 100. I was totally disappointed. And the fact that Sasha got pinned the way she did and the way she got thrown around in this ring, how do you make the women's champion look like this? At least maybe Bianca could have declared and done something. Nothing. Bad. The finale was the chamber match to close the show. The intro started at 8:40. The match started about 12 minutes later. Randy and Hardy started, and they did their thing. They went back and forth. Drew entered next. Surprisingly, Drew entered third, but obviously with the feud between him and Sheamus, they were going to leave Sheamus for later, so that wasn't surprising. It's kind of surprised that he came in third. He came out third. Kofi came out after, and they were all doing their thing with some spots, a little bit of mix. The big surprise was Randy Orton got eliminated first. That was a huge surprise right there. I picked Randy Orton to win this thing, so it shows you how much I knew. So Randy getting taken out, that basically led me to believe that maybe that Drew was going to retain. And as we gone through the match, after Randy got eliminated, AJ came in, and then it was Sheamus. Kofi got eliminated by Sheamus. A Claymore by Drew McIntyre pinned Hardy, and that was pretty much it. Then Sheamus got pinned, and then a Claymore by Drew on AJ Styles, and that was all she wrote. What do I take away from the chamber match itself? Randy going out first was a shocker. Kofi getting eliminated was not a shock at all, even though he was eliminated by Sheamus. That was not a surprise. Drew put up a Cardi put up a valiant effort, but again, Claymore by Drew. Drew showing why he's the champ. I mean, that's what this is about. And then AJ Styles got pinned. AJ Styles got pinned by Sheamus. AJ Styles pinned Sheamus, excuse me. AJ Styles pinned Sheamus, which was kind of a surprise. I thought maybe it would have been Drew versus Sheamus. Well, AJ pinned Sheamus. That's where that ended up. And then AJ had nothing left. He was exhausted. Claymore by Drew, and Drew retained. I gave it a 90 out of 100. Drew showed why he should be the champion, right? Drew's the champ. No problems. Well, guess what? Show's not over, boys and girls. As soon as the cage lifted, Bobby Lashley came out and beat up Drew McIntyre from one end of the ring to the other. Drew McIntyre was completely out of it. Well, now I guess we got WrestleMania, right? After Bobby lost the United States Championship, after he lost the championship, the title, you figure now we'll have Bobby versus Drew. Now you have your WrestleMania. Wrong again. The Miz! The Miz, remember Money in the Bank Miz, came running down the ring. Drew is out. I mean, out completely. After the assault that he took in the cage, in the chamber, and then getting his rear end handed to him by Lashley. I mean, it was almost like what Daniel Bryan went through. Nothing left for the champ. Opportunity knocks. Miz puts in the briefcase. It's his right. 30 seconds later, The show ends with your new Raw champion. He's awesome. He's known as The Miz. The Miz is your new WWE Raw champion. What do I make of this segment? Shock. Shock. I shock. Total shock. It was a total surprise. I thought for a minute Bobby and Drew could be at WrestleMania because I think that would be great. And instead now we got Miz heading to WrestleMania. I would believe, and I honestly truly believe, that you're not going to have WrestleMania without Drew McIntyre. I would bet my bottom dollar that we're going to somehow, some way get Drew and The Miz in a rematch at WrestleMania. And I think maybe Drew might get it back at that point. That was a shock. It was a shock. No doubt about it. For a minute there, after everything that happened, I didn't expect Lashley to do what he did. And then Drew's out completely. And of course, they showed The Miz earlier. And not even thinking as you watch this, why would they show The Miz? And, well, maybe it was just a tease, because he hasn't cashed in yet. They were talking about it in the pre-show. He's had it for so long. And lo and behold, yeah, tonight's the night. He cashed in. Yes, he cashed in, and he is your new champion. So, well done. Definitely surprised that, but what could you expect? After the assault that Drew went in the chamber, and then Lashley, it was just like what happened with Daniel Bryan or what Roman did to Bryan. It was got to be over in a matter of seconds. There was no doubt. Drew had nothing left. So, what do I take? I thought the final segment was solid. It was a total shock, so definitely worthy of it. Both chamber matches were excellent. The women's tag match was a disappointment. The Lashley Riddle thing, I thought was a disappointment, even though Matt Riddle won it, but I just was not intrigued by it. The Roman Reigns speech was just, I really did not agree with it. But the finish from the men's Raw chamber, and then with Lashley coming out and The Miz, I think it kind of saved the show for a finish. That finish was really solid and worth it, along with the opening chamber match. Kind of surprised, no Bray Wyatt tonight, no Alexa Bliss. Well, after Randy going out first, that was the end of that. I would definitely encourage you all to watch it again. The opening chamber match was good. The men's chamber match was great. Both men's match were great. And then to see Lashley come out, and then The Miz, excellent all around there. But the rest of it, I fast forward to it. And also tonight, just let your fans know, was the last show on the WWE Network. They go to the NBC Peacock now for Fastlane going forward. So if you don't already know that, they do. But don't worry, Rough Cuts is still going to be here on YouTube. On One Wrestling Video, Bill will definitely be posting. We're not going anywhere, and neither should you. So we'll be on to Fastlane in a couple of weeks. I would encourage to watch it. Hope you enjoy the show. If you did not see it, please do. If you did watch it, rewatch it. It was definitely worth the chamber matches and the conclusion. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more going forward. We do know that Edge and Roman will square off at WrestleMania. That we know for sure. I do believe it'll be Miz and Drew. I would believe that it will be. I would be very surprised if we don't get that. We might even get Bobby Lashley in the middle. It might even be a triple threat match. Would not be surprised to have a triple threat match. That would not shock me. Where do we go with Bianca? I still think it's going to happen with Sasha. I just still think that. I think maybe we'll know more at Fastlane. Asuka hasn't defended her title since September. We should get some more going forward by Fastlane as well. The card will take shape going forward in the next month, so we should get more into that as well. But tonight we know for sure it's Edge and Roman, and we do have a new Raw champion going forward. So, with that being said, for this edition of Rough Cuts, this has been Sal Lasardo reporting in from Orlando, Florida. As always, may all of your matches be a main event. Until Fastlane, I will be back actually with a weekly video. We'll have another segment coming up, but I will be also covering Fastlane as well in a few weeks from now as well. So check me out on Twitter and look for my upcoming next video. We'll have one out coming up next weekend as well. So again, all your matches be your main event. Take care, be safe, be well. Till next time, everyone.